Welcome to Gumball Love. I'm Melissa Ledger, professional relationship coach, creator of Gumball Love and the Back to You Academy. If you're ready to stop the cycle of toxic men, get through the breakup once and for all, and finally get back to you, you are in the right place. This journey is about healing your heart, and you are encouraged to take the pace that is just right for you. In the process, you will build a foundation of confidence and strength that will make you unshakable, I promise. So get ready to level up your mindset and your lifestyle as you awaken the seeds of greatness just waiting to burst into full bloom. Let's do this. Welcome back to another episode of Gumball Love. I'm your host, Melissa Ledger. Today I have a special guest, Alicia Smokler. Welcome, Alicia.
Thank you.
Yay. I'm so glad we got a chance to connect. So we were referred or introduced to each other by Sarah Lynn, and Sarah Lynn follows me, and she was like, hey, you need to meet Alicia. So we don't know each other very well, but I didn't want us to have that talk beforehand. I wanted to save it for the podcast because it's so much more fun to learn these things in real time. So I found out about Alicia, obviously, through Sarah Lynn, as I just said, and she had mentioned you were on the Million Dollar Matchmaker. So I'm dying to know what that story is all about. I've been like on pins and needles waiting to hear the scoop because I've watched The Bachelor, since the beginning, and when it was called Millionaire Matchmaker, and Patti Stanger. Everyone knows Patti Stanger, so love her analysis of guys. So she would seem like she would be so fun to be around. So I can't wait to hear that story. And so what I understand is you have developed a community to help women that are dating over 30. You're writing a book. Is all of this stemming from your experience on the Million Dollar Matchmaker?
So that's a great question. I think it helped to spiral it in that direction. But I think a big thing is just I've dated in the era of pre-dating apps. And then now I'm single at 33, almost 34. So I've dated quite a bit, trying to find, that right match, and just still haven't. So as I've talked to my friends and I've talked to just everyone, people are like, you have so many stories. And after every relationship or, dating experience, you still continue to stay positive. Like, how do you do that? And I've had so many people continue to come to me, and I was like, I love writing. I've journaled, I've blogged. Why don't I just put this all out there? And no matter what comes of it, I would love just to develop a community where women are like, oh my gosh, I'm not the only one that experienced that. And oh, so you felt like you wanted to curl under the covers for a month, but you somehow got out of it too. So I think it's really big today in 2019, just having a support system with everything we do. So that's just a really big thing that I'm very passionate about.
Awesome. So, I totally agree with you. And that's what I love about the Gumball Love community. And I think you're going to love as your community grows, because we get weird in our own heads and think we are alone. It's a very big problem among women because we get all this shame when we have a relationship that doesn't work out, and we all kind of tend to hide. And so community brings us out of hiding, makes us realize we're not, we're not some weird outcast, and that this is happening to everyone. And I agree with you. There is kind of a pre-dating app, post-dating app mindset, and people are, I don't know if are we adjusting to apps, or are apps getting weird? I just kind of feel like this whole new subculture or communication style has developed where I think it's laziness on the part of, I'm sure, a lot of women too. But I think a lot of us are giving too much time to these guys that are basically laying on their couch watching football and texting girls on apps, but they're really not, they're not in the game, so to speak.
So I agree with you on a lot of fronts. So I think the big thing is, so apps have now been around, Tinder, did that start in 2011, I think, to really launch apps. So we're almost getting to 8-9 years of dating apps. Mm-hmm. And so I think that in the beginning, it was definitely a place where people were looking like, oh my gosh, I have the opportunity to meet someone that I wouldn't typically meet.
Mm-hmm.
And now I think apps are so saturated. So if you really want to be on an app, you should really clearly define your expectations. And it goes to women and men. What you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. You know, I've had a lot of women come to me and they're like, you know what, I'm on Bumble. And like, guys give me these one-word responses, and I'll just like look through their conversations, and, you know, I'll be the first to give constructive criticism and explain, you know, all you said was, hi, how are you? Like, that didn't give any like oomph of like, oh my gosh, I really want to talk to this person. And also, everyone has so many options out there. So people have completely gotten lazy. Mm-hmm. I do believe in apps. I've definitely met some really great quality people off of them. But now in 2019, I think it is, you have to put effort into it. You have to be very clear with your expectations, not like the first message, but you trust your gut with when you're conversating with someone. You know when something's flowing. And if someone is like continuing to converse with you, start giving that exact same, you know, effort. And I think you can definitely find what you're looking for. I also think in your bio, be very specific. If you're looking for a relationship, say you're looking for a relationship. I also think within the first day of messaging with someone, you can feel out those like signs. Just look for them. If you're dating after 30, you've dated enough, you've texted enough, you've messaged enough, you know what those signs are. So just because that guy like might be the hottest guy you've seen on the app, if he's acting like he just wants a hookup, or if he's throwing a few lines that you're like, oh, that doesn't look like what I'm looking for, then be done with it. It wasn't a waste of like, it was a waste of what, 10 messages. So I think apps can be great because you can weed through a lot of people, and you can meet a lot of people that you wouldn't typically meet. But yes, they're very, very saturated, and you have to be very patient.
That's a very, very good summation. It does take time. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of patience, and it's a lot of rejection too, because, when those guys stop texting and they fade off, I think it starts to, what do you tell women that, it starts to bruise the ego a little bit, because a lot of these conversations start and then fizzle. The guy just kind of fades out, and that just gets, I know I have a previous episode on this where I gave up on dating apps myself, just because of the energy and the sad faces on these profile pictures. I just hated looking at their pictures, and these, the car selfie. It's like, okay, guys, get out of your car. And then it would be like, here I am in my car, but now I have my sunglasses on. Now I took them off. And that's like, don't do the Kim Kardashian pout face, fish lips. Don't do it. And you're like, how many freaking pictures am I have to look at with these guys doing this? And so, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I said forever, but maybe I'll go back. But I just, it is very, it feels sad out there to me, because these guys, and obviously I'm only seeing the guys out there. I'm not looking through the women's profile pictures. Right. And I'm sure there's a lot of guys that are like, a lot of girls have their boobs hanging out and they're making the duck face too. I've heard the complaints on both sides. So what do you say to girls like me that are like, okay, I'm over it. I don't want to look at another sad face again, or a weird guy in his car, or the bathroom shirtless selfie?
So I love that, because this is the thing. So I lived in Los Angeles for 3 years. I've lived quite a few places, but previously Los Angeles. I just moved back in December to Houston. So this is where I'm from. So we're at like 7 months now. I'll be honest, I have downloaded and deleted a dating app 3 different times because I had that exact same feeling. So this is my advice, is if you get to a point where you are just like kind of over it, give yourself a break. Like, maybe you don't delete it completely, maybe keep your account, but just take the app off your phone and like go out with your girlfriends, go out with your friends, and like just kind of regain confidence in human society again after, like, because these apps, they do that to us. Think one thing to think about to do, like, make it glass half full over glass half empty, if I see a male car selfie, or if I see a male with a picture of like him and a tiger or a gym selfie, I don't even look at their bios.
A tiger.
I don't scroll through another picture. I just delete it, because I'll never be compatible with a person that felt that was a good picture on their dating app.
If you have a tiger, you're out. Okay. I don't care how pumped you were at whatever zoo, you're gone, buddy.
Legit, like the amount of like exotic animals I've seen men post, I'm like, this is bizarre.
Yeah.
But I think that's the thing, is like, yes, it's like annoying, and it's like, what are you doing? But it's their problem, and it's a really quick way for me to like X them. And maybe if I had met them at a bar, I would have thought they were cool. Yet on Hinge, they have 3 car selfies. So I think we just have to like.
So you hate the car selfie too?
Oh, hate the car selfie, hate the gym selfie, hate the exotic animal picture, and I hate the have you noticed, I don't know if anyone in this community's noticed it, but it's like the confused face. It's like very like popular right now. And what are you doing?
Like the kind of where they're like the furrowed brow, like, or I'm pondering, I'm thinking. I know. Exactly. It's like, do you not, it's like, hey, buddy, do you have friends? When you're hanging out, take some photos. You know, let's not be doing photo shoots by ourselves. If you're setting a timer on your phone and running over, and let's not do that. Let's just, it's
a little weird. And then I go the other way too, though. If a guy on a dating app has 5 pictures and each one is with 5 different friends, like, I'm not sorting through to see who you are. I'm just going to assume you're the one that's not my type, and I'm going to X you out. So like, have a variety. Like, right. I think like, I really like, I want to see that someone has like a life and they do fun things, and it kind of highlights maybe a hobby, like you're at a sporting event, and then maybe you're with your friends at a birthday party, and then you have a nice picture of you like somewhere that you like told someone to take of you, like you're at a charity event. I don't know, just show me that you're like doing things with your life, and then I'll like say okay to it. I mean, honestly, the last person I dated from a dating app physically was not 100% my type, but like every picture looked like he was doing something, and then his answers to the questions were like, I very much enjoy traveling, I want a traveling buddy. Like they all were like things that very much like intrigued me. So I think we really need to try to paint a true picture of ourselves and not be lazy with our pictures or our responses on dating apps if we truly want to like potentially find a relationship. And
a lot of the apps are doing stories too, right? So you're seeing some more video versus still photos.
Right. Yeah. Some of them are doing videos. Yeah, I think there's a combination of it all now.
Which is kind of funny, though. It's like the dating app world is like, whoa, we're going to slow way down on the video. We're still going to stay back in the 90s and do still photos. We don't want to, it's like, they're like really slow to adopt the video, because video, you can't hide much, you know. I saw this.
We're going to really see how you are.
Yes. I saw a cute photo. I've got to send this to my dentist who would totally love it. It says, forget nudes, show me your teeth. It's like, yes.
Oh my gosh,
that's a thing.
That is a thing. Okay, you're bringing me back to a story. First guy I met in Houston. Every single one of his photos, he wasn't smiling, but I didn't realize it because in his photos, he had like a picture of him in like a Halloween costume. He was like Michael Phelps. And then he had another picture with like friends, and he was like tall and good looking. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even notice it. And then we went on our first date. Oh my God, he had the worst teeth I'd ever seen in my entire life. And I was like, how did I not think that he wasn't, how did I miss that?
Oh, I know. My sister, my sister will like make fun of me. I'll be like, dang it. She was like, there was a teeth issue, wasn't there? I'm like, she's like, rookie mistake. I remember giving such a hard time from her because, she would look at, you send them to your friends, or I send them to my sister. She's like, okay, but there might be some kind of a teeth situation. Like I would look back and like, dang, yes, you're right. There is a teeth situation. Like dental hygiene. I mean, that's just a whole, can of worms. So yeah, it's a weird little world that you get into with online dating, and I completely agree that you have to take a break because you do kind of like get sucked into the culture of it, and then you're like, and then you get to the point where you're like, well, is a bathroom selfie really that big? What if he doesn't know? Then you're like, okay, if you're starting to negotiate on the tiger picture or the bathroom selfie, it's time to time to delete the app for a while.
Take a mini break. I always believe you know what, and it gives it time to recirculate as well. So there are people that are getting out of marriages. There are people that are getting out of very long-term relationships. I was actually listening to a podcast today, and it was discussing that of someone that was in a 7-year relationship and got out of it and was like, I don't even understand this world now. So I think there's opportunities that there's still people to meet on there that because sometimes you're like, oh my gosh, these people have been on there for 3 years. They don't care. They're barely looking at it. But then you do every single time I've been on a dating app, I've probably matched with at least one person. And they're like, oh my gosh, you're my first match. This is my first dating app experience. And you can actually tell they're new to it because they're really eager and excited. And it's actually refreshing. Okay, maybe this is possible. You just have to find where it's not so saturated.
Yes, I agree. Sorry, I'm muting because there's a siren going by. I was like, I hope she talks for 5 more seconds because I'm waiting for the ambulance to go by.
I literally wanted to sedate my dog so he wouldn't bark because that might happen during this.
I know. Podcast life. It's hard. And, I've got the FDR right out my window in New York. So,
oh my goodness.
Where are you? I didn't even ask you where you're physically even located.
I'm Houston, Texas. So
okay.
I don't have too many noises you can hear. It's actually just now starting to rain, but I don't think you can hear it through the podcast.
Okay. Okay, perfect. All right. So I'm dying to know, what was Million Dollar Matchmaker like? Tell me everything. Don't leave me how did you get picked for it? And then what is it like for it to be on reality TV like that?
No, absolutely. So like I said, I lived in Los Angeles for 3 years, and I think a lot of people would be like, "Oh my gosh, how did you even talk to a producer? You must have been at every studio trying to be on reality TV." Actually, quite the opposite. I believe, honestly, I was on a dating app, and there was a producer on a dating app that did a swipe thing. That's a very big thing in LA for them to find people to put on these crazy reality shows. And so my name got put in the database probably right when I moved there. So I moved there the end of 2015, and I had a few opportunities that they reached out to me, a few shows on E, and then Million Dollar Matchmaker, previously Millionaire Matchmaker with Patti Stanger. So it was on Bravo, and then it got moved to the We network. So they reached out to me, and I was actually on a plane going to Germany for a work trip. And they're like, would you be interested? We have a millionaire and a millionaire. So we're getting 20 girls and 20 guys. And now the way the show's laid out is they have everything happens at a hotel. So basically the picking process goes on there. The dating process goes on there. You basically, if you're picked, you then check into the hotel for a week, etc. So it's a little different than it was previously. So I was like, you know what? This is a really cool opportunity. I was going to be landing home from Germany the night before they needed me there. So I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be so jet lagged. But I was like, who cares? I'm not getting picked. It'll just be fun. Maybe I'll make some girlfriends. I always
so there's 20 people and they only pick one?
Yeah.
20 girls and 20 millionaire dudes?
No. So it's a millionaire and then a millionaires. So a girl and a guy that both are.
Oh, got it. Okay. Millionaires. I've never heard that term before.
Yeah, so,
okay.
Right. So
Millionaire princess.
Millionaire princess, pretty much. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all in one show. And so it goes through the show, and I think it's 15 to 20 girls for the millionaire and 15 to 20 guys for the millionaires. And you first go through and you're interviewed by Patti, and then she eliminates it down to 8. And then the millionaires picks one to have their their one exclusive date, basically.
Okay, so you land from Germany, then what happens?
Germany, and I was of course I'll do it. So I knew while I was on this trip that I was going to be doing it, but I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to have time to go out and buy a new outfit. I'm not going to have time to put my hair extensions in. I was thinking everything. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. And so I was like, but you know what, who cares? I'm not going to get picked. Patti will probably tear me to shreds, and that'll be the end of it. It'll be no big deal. So, anyways, get there, I like wore like all outfits that I've had for 2 years, and like, you know, girl like code, we like have to buy something new for everything, especially if we're going on reality television.
Yes.
So, and they're like, and then they're also like, you have to pack as if you get picked. So you have to pack for like a week. So I'm like throwing things in a suitcase, like, what am I doing? I don't even, and I almost forgot my makeup. Like, I didn't even think about anything. Okay. So I get there, and there's just a room full of girls. And if you can imagine reality TV girls, like, you're like, oh my gosh. But I actually like really connected with 2 girls in the room, and they were amazing. And they're actually, one of them I'm still pretty good friends with. And one, like, we follow each other on Instagram and we always message each other, but she lives in Colorado. So it's like harder to keep in touch, but like great girls. And so we're all just kind of like having a great time with it. Like, not everyone else was, like, everyone else was like super serious about it. So anyways, they do like, I don't know if you've ever watched it, but like basically they'll do like 3 girls at a time that like go in the room in front of Patti, and then whoever is her like junior matchmaker at the time. And I'm petrified. Like, I've watched Millionaire Matchmaker forever, and like Patti is hardcore. So I'm like,
she
oh my
is.
gosh.
Yes.
She's like so hardcore. So I'm like, Alicia, just be yourself. Like, you're like a nice person. Like, this will be fine.
Yeah.
And anyway, so like she asked like a few questions, and you know, it all like went fine. Like, there wasn't anything like too crazy, but you know, she like referenced my southernness, and she was like, how would you handle a guy from New Jersey that's a poker player? So that was the millionaire. And at first I got like really like, I was like, I like got very like kind of nervous. And then she kind of like lashed back, and I'm like, oh my God, she's totally not even going to pick me for the mixer. And then she ended up selecting me. She's like, I think you might be a good match to even him out or something. Be a sweet girl to this like, you know, New Jersey, like hardcore guy or whatever, like Jersey Shore type. So I was like, okay, so
Jersey Shore type. Whoa. Okay.
So I moved on to the mixer, and we hadn't even seen what the millionaire looked like at this time. So I had no clue what this guy looked like. So he comes out, and we have to, for TV purposes, like all be like, oh my God. Okay, he comes out like he's the opposite of my type. I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's
what did he look like?
He was like, okay, so I'm tall. I'm like 5'8". Like, I normally like a tall guy. So he was like probably like 5'8", 5'9". He had like red hair, a red beard. I'm just not into gingers. Nothing against them. Like, I'm sorry, everyone.
That's a lot to, like, red hair, red beard, poker player, Jersey Shore. That's a lot of stuff to be.
It's a lot. Yeah.
Out of bathroom selfie, and he's the plethora of no.
Exactly. And like, and I also, so I'll like say this. So I'm a blonde, but I'm actually a redhead with freckles. So I think about like my future children, and I would prefer not to have redhead kids with freckles. So
I love redheads though. That's so sad that you don't love your red hair. I've tried so hard to color my hair red, and it just did not work. And every redhead I see, I'm like, oh, but I don't know. I'm picturing, maybe I should picture Prince Harry when I picture this guy, because isn't he a redhead? Prince Harry's redhead. Yeah. So anyway, okay. So I haven't even looked at this guy. Maybe I should look him up and see what he looks like. But
so all right. I know, and I feel bad. Him and I are like, we actually are still friends.
Really? Okay. We won't be too hard on him.
Crazy that is. I know. Well, I know. So in case you listen to this, nothing against you. It's really all just, I'm putting it all on myself. I don't want redhead fucking children. So that's like the end of it. So he like comes out, and I'm like, okay, like whatever. I'm just gonna have fun with this. And then he goes around to like each of the tables, and, you know, they have the cameras on us. And the thing is, so basically, he's at our table, and he's asking about sports. Now, I was an only child, so I know a lot about sports because my dad's a big sports guy. So he was like, oh, does anyone know who the New York Rangers are? Like, what team that is? I was like, that's a hockey team. And so we just like connected that way, but I still thought nothing of it. Like, there was tons of very attractive women that like, I was like, he's never going to select me. So anyways, like, he does the mixer, and then the way like the show, like they cast it is it's all of a sudden done. And so you don't know who he's selected. So you just are like going back to your like prep room, and the producer goes up to whoever they've selected and are like, okay, we're checking you into the hotel. You're going to be here all week, like everything like that. So all of a sudden a producer's like, hey, Alicia, can I talk to you? And I'm like, this is a joke. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, oh, like Jason selected you. And I was like, what?
So that means you won, or you went to the next round?
Oh, I got the one-on-one date. So
okay.
basically I like won the date. So like I was now the one selected to go on the millionaire date.
Okay.
So I was like, well, first of all, I did not expect to get picked. I needed to work the rest of the week. I was like, what am I doing right now? And I was like, okay. And then like I get into the hotel room and I was like, well, I guess I'll be working from home the rest of the week. And like if I'm working from home, like I don't even know when we're filming, everything like that. So anyway, so we go on our one-on-one date, and it was actually, they did it at, you know, the places that do painting and sips. So like you paint and then you sip wine and everything. And the way they put it on TV, it makes it look like it was this great date and everything like that. But literally it was in and out of cuts. Like maybe they filmed for a minute and then they stop and they reposition you and do this and do that. So you're not getting to know the person that much at all. And then there's so many different takes. So you have to be there a few days, and then they don't want you together at all in the evenings because it gives the opportunity for someone to say something where they're like, oh, I don't like that person anymore. And then maybe you're not good for TV any longer.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's all like very interesting. So, it was a great experience. I made a good friend out of it. He actually, I don't even know if I'm allowed to say this. I have no idea what type of contract I signed, but basically he lived in Arizona and he went back to Arizona. I thought nothing of it. He like felt the need to call me like a week later that he had gotten back together with his like ex-girlfriend, which I'm sure maybe it was never an ex-girlfriend. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. And then probably like 4 months after that, like called me and was like, we broke up. I think I made a mistake. Would you consider dating me? And I was like, no.
Oh my gosh. That's the thing too. Like that's where like, I'm like Patti, Miss Stanger. That's where I feel like, and I don't know if she's vetting these guys, but every time I see one of the guys, and this, I haven't watched her show for a while, but I'm always like, he's not a good guy. I mean, and I don't like how, does she still do the makeovers for them? Like, you know, if they have gross hair, she'll be like, dude, clean your fingernail. Like she, you know how she shapes them up to get them ready?
Right. I don't think she does that so much anymore. Now it seems like it's more of like trying to clean up like the personality type, but like he was a little rough around the edges. But, you know, a lot of it is, you know, accentuated for TV. Like it's all, you know, like they have to make a nice TV show out of it. So they really played up his Jerseyness. He's actually a pretty nice guy. Yeah. So I think they like played a little bit more up for TV, but
because she's Jersey, right? I think Patty's from Jersey.
She's like Jersey or New York. Yeah. She's definitely Northeast.
Yeah, for sure. So what is your takeaway after going through that? I mean, did it change your perception of dating, or like, what does that experience like that do for your mindset around relationships?
You know, I don't know if it so much changed my mindset on dating. I think, you know, I always go into everything as it's like an experience. And so, and I'm very, I know things that are important to me in a relationship. And I also go in with a very open mind, and I don't go in with any sort of like, I don't go into dates where I feel like this might be my person. I go into a date where I'm like, great to meet someone new. Let's see what happens. So going into that experience, I think I was able to see a lot of different women and the way they carry themselves and the way they present themselves. And I think I'll go the direction of women in LA, but I'm sure it's everywhere. Definitely when they see money around someone, they act a little different, and that'll never be who I am. My parents taught me very well to be able to stand on my own 2 feet. And so I think that's something that's also a little different for men when they're dating women in their 30s is we don't need you. You're a great, like an add-on. I want to find an equal. I want to find a partner. But if it's someone that's like not like what, you know, the things that I want, I'm not gonna like change. I'm not going to change because you are presenting money or a lifestyle or this or that. So, you know, I would say it didn't change anything on dating. I think it's just another experience that I've had. And it was great to actually be able to, Patti is one of the dating experts in the field, probably one of the top dating experts in the field. And listening to her and seeing her in real life, I do think she has a lot of great tips to give women. I'm not as hardcore as Patti is, so I think we can take tips and like tailor them to who we are and our personalities. But I think always just to remember your worth and always remember, you know, don't alter the way you are or change something or try to fit into a mold because you like really like something about someone, but deep down inside, you know that like probably the core stuff might not line up.
Amen. I agree.
Yeah.
It's, you know, I always teach on this platform, and I really encourage everyone that I coach and teach in the academy is to pay attention to John Gottman and the Gottman Institute. They've been studying happy couples and marriage for over 30 years, and it's all research based, where a lot of people that are have been in the industry for a long time, whether it's Matthew Hussey or John Gray or, you know, there's like even Steve Harvey, it's always opinion based. And I remember reading all those books, and like you said, there's great tips. I think you can pick up a lot of good things, but it always made me stop and go, but there's something missing here. And the Gottman Institute was that one thing. They have the research to show this is actually what makes a happy couple. This is what sustains a marriage long term. And when you start studying marriage versus dating, then you go, oh, that's what the components are to a healthy relationship. So for me, it's like navigating that. And you realize in those healthy relationships, those people did not ever change who they were. They became friends, and they were able to have intimacy, because intimacy is vulnerability, right? So if you can be vulnerable, you can be open, you can be your true self. That's how you really connect with someone. And so when the research proves that over and over and over again, it really just simplifies it. And it's so true. If you change who you are, then you're not being authentic. Therefore, you're not connecting with your authentic self. So you're like Chris Rock says, you're sending in your representative versus your true self, and then they're gonna like your representative. They're gonna be like, oh, I like that different chick who. Then you're eventually gonna become yourself anyway, because it's so hard to fake it. And so yeah, I know that's why a lot of these, we watch it on The Bachelor or whatever, where they're just trying so hard. And you're like screaming at the TV, like, stop trying so hard. You're already great. You're already beautiful. Like, you just can relax. But man, that's a journey to get there. I mean, it's so easy to say, but it's so hard to do it and put it in practice.
Absolutely. And I think that's something we all have to remember. Like, we're all great, and we aren't meant for everyone, and everyone isn't meant for us. So like, why spend time altering who you are? Because it will come out, to be totally frank. I actually just ended a relationship. We dated for a few months and everything was perfect. And then after about the 2-month marker, things all started to unravel. And I don't want to throw him under the bus, but I truly think he presented the absolute best version of himself, and he could only keep it up for a certain amount of time. And then I think he settled into really what his true qualities were. And though they weren't terrible, they just did not mesh well with who I am and the needs I have in a relationship. And I think that's something that like we can all learn also is, don't jump into a relationship too quickly. Really get to know someone. And I think it takes 3 to 4 months of courtship and dating before you even should consider being in an exclusive relationship, because you need time, to like evaluate each person, let them show them their true selves, see how it is in conflict, see how it is in stress, see how it is with work, family, everything like that before you decide to like take that plunge, because that's the biggest lesson. And it's something you touched on, like we get embarrassed by something failing and ending. I mean, it was such a quick relationship, but it was very fast and furious, and ending it, like I was having so much conflict inside because I was so embarrassed by thinking I had met the like man of my dreams. And I forgot to even think of like my standards of like really getting to know someone. And I got very caught up in the fairy tale. And I think we, sometimes we just forget, and it's just a good reminder.
Well, and when I coach my girls, I always tell them in the very beginning, if you're not seeing any red flags, they're like, what should I do? And I always just say, have fun, because you cannot, we cannot penalize the men of our future with the sins of the men of our past. So we can't go in skeptical and have a negative mindset. As much as I can grumble about online dating websites, it's like, if I haven't met you and you present well, then you got to you kind of have to just give it a shot and see. There's always a risk. You never know what's going to happen. And so if it took him 2 months to show who he really is, then how would you have known any different? You know what I mean? So when the shame comes in, it's like you have to, I think the girls in my academy will be like, oh my gosh, she says this so much, but it's like, there's so much shame that we have to stop doing to ourselves. Cause it's like, yeah, now you have the 30,000 foot view. Well, okay. Yeah. It's over. You saw the whole transformation from the guy he presented to the guy he is now. And then you're like, oh, why didn't I see it? Well, because you didn't have the information. So you were only in chapter 2, and now you've read all 12 chapters and you get it. So we can't judge ourselves after knowing the full story and then going back and judging us based on what we knew in chapter 1. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think we need to also make sure, when the change started happening, I kept just hoping that the other guy was going to come back, and it just kept not coming back. And it was like causing me a lot of pain. But once I finally just accepted that, like, this just isn't the person that was presented, and you can't fault yourself for, falling because of what happened, and you just have to, like, protect yourself, and you have to move on, and you have to have it as another, like, lessons learned. And, like, I think it's the embarrassment and shame that you're like, you're like, how did that happen? Like, I've worked on myself and I present my best self, but it is who I am. And I've been this and I've been that. And I think I kept bargaining with him, like, but I did this, like, what's going on? And even ending the relationship, he kept telling me, I want to make this work. I still care about you. I still love you. And I'm just in my mind. That was also something that I kept hearing those words, but everything, all the other actions weren't there. And I finally, like, had an epiphany, and I was like, this just isn't the right person. And he's telling you all these things, but he's not showing you how he's not showing you any longer. So you have to now understand that you need to make the best decision for your future.
Absolutely. Did he present a fairy tale experience in the beginning?
Oh, I mean, it was the biggest fairy tale. It was, within like 2 weeks, we were in an exclusive relationship. I mean, I probably should have taken a few as red flags. He said, I love you very quickly. He like flew me out to Ohio to meet his dad while they were in a golf tournament. And he had been married previously. So I was just like, oh, he just like knows what he wants, like everything like that. We had like the rest of the year planned out. We had everything was planned out. I was like, we were spending every living, waking moment together. And everything, I mean, this is so fresh and so new. 2 weeks ago, he was telling me, please never leave. Like, tell me we'll always get through these things, which was very odd. And like, I felt like that was a little weird behavior. We had like both gotten food poisoning. So like weird. We both got food poisoning. We're both taking care of each other. He like got very needy, but I was just like, men are just needy when they're sick. So like, I kind of just like chalked it up to that. And he kept saying, please never leave me. Please never leave me. Please never leave me. And then, he basically created a wall. Like 2 days later, I was supposed to go on a work trip with him that he basically said, maybe we need the weekend apart. And then he just distanced himself. I ended up going to LA last week for work, and he started just projecting everything on me. Like I was doing all of these things, except it had been him really doing them. And, we never could get back on the same page. We were supposed to be on a 4th of July trip this week. I just started realizing that all of a sudden this guy, like his behavior changed, his actions changed. He projected what he was doing onto me. So either he wasn't what he presented or he was cheating. So, I mean, I'm not stupid.
Do you think it was cheating?
Yeah. I do have a gut feeling. Yeah. I mean, he's still to this day right now, trying to make it work. But even when he has a conversation with me, it still is very distant. He's not the same person. And I mean, I've cut it off, but yeah, I do. I think there was someone else that, he wasn't honest about something, whatever that was.
And you can just feel it. You can feel that disconnect. And my sister and I will say it's like a tremor in the force. You just know like something's off. And yeah, this is like classic, what I call the gumball guy, where it's always an intense beginning. And the formula of gumball love is that when there's an intense beginning, it mimics fairy tale. And fairy tale is that switch in our brain that makes us think this is the one. So when they're saying all the things and they're doing all the things, we feel that intense connection. And he's being so available and always, it's all consuming. But what I've discovered is that is attention seeking, where they get addicted to the high of attention and their self-esteem is so low. So when he was saying, you can never leave me, you can never leave me, there he's showing you my self-esteem is so low. So there's the desperate guy on the far end of it, so you're seeing the desperation where in the beginning he presented it as fairy tale, but the fairy tale is really the desperation for the intense attention. So it's like, give me sugar, give me sugar, give me sugar, give me sugar. So when we respond to them presenting that fairy tale, we give them the juice, so to speak, and then they get high and we fall in love with them being high on all the attention. So when the attention...
That's amazing.
Thank you. I know it took me a long time to figure that out. I realized it's a kind of a new phrase I've been telling my clients. You're in love with him when he's high. And you are the one that gets him high because it's your attention, your energy, your adoration. Every gumball guy has a different flavor that will, we kind of figure out what works when. Oh, maybe he wants a pity party right now. Sorry, my sirens are so loud.
Oh, you're fine.
But maybe he wants a pity party, or maybe every gumball guy presents himself a little bit differently, where sometimes they go out to the bar and they get attention when you're in a fight with them, or like the distance is when they're getting the attention somewhere else, because to get it from you means to resolve conflict. So when you start having issues in the relationship, that's usually when they start to feel like they're cheating, because they probably are. And I a lot of times I don't think it's the intent to start a new relationship, but they're trying to go get their fix. And if they want it from you, they have to first go through all this work to resolve conflict, which they don't know how to do. And it's like,
okay, I think I needed this podcast way more than you, because legit, no, I'm not even joking, because that was him this high. And then it's so funny, like we had all these doctor's appointments he had to go to because of like the sickness or having food poisoning, but it spawned them seeing a few other things. And I literally went with him to all these, like he had to get a neck image and all of this stuff. And his trigger was he felt I rolled my eyes at him at the neck imaging place. And from there on was the reason he uninvited me to Pittsburgh, and still for 2 weeks is the reason why that's how he flipped it on me, because I rolled my eyes when he needed me most.
Gosh. Which is also, I can tell you, that is trying to flip control. So if he gets mad about an eye roll, then it puts us as the woman in fear. Okay, I can't roll my eyes. I can't even gasp or be frustrated. That's not allowed. So it's how they start to introduce the control right away. So then I've been in relationships where I felt like, oh gosh, I shouldn't have, wow, that's so mean of me. I shouldn't have rolled my eyes. I can't believe I did that. And then all of a sudden you're on eggshells. That's the second you're on eggshells. And then all of a sudden it's like, no, you need to be able to roll your eyes, and he can be annoyed with that, but but then you need to be able to move on from that. And so,
Right. No, it's like, it's so funny. I can very much think of these situations, and I'm like, if he got that upset about me rolling my eyes, I was just overhearing him talk about being sick, so I probably did roll my eyes. But we all do things like, but get over it.
Right. Yeah. You can't be punished endlessly for these things, but they do it because even telling you you're being punished for rolling your eyes then makes you work to get his attention. And as you're working for it, he's getting those little sugar highs. You're tiptoeing around, you're coddling him, and that's what they need. They need it. It's what they survive on. This is their source of their self-worth. And so we don't realize it's like there's this slow change. At first, they're pouring all this love, or in the narcissism world, this is what they call love bombing. And I don't feel like every guy necessarily fits. They say narcissists are only 1% of the population, although I feel like it's much more. But I always, regardless if it's narcissism or not, I feel like it just follows this pattern. Like, why do I fall for him? Why does he fall for me? And this is the thing. I couldn't stand it. I had to know what the heck was going on. Like, why is this going on? Why am I so sucked into it? And why do I feel so bad about myself? And how can I stop all of these weird patterns? And then once you see the pattern, you're like, oh, there it is. Gumball guy. He's seeking the attention. And as soon as you realize it, it's like, this is the game. It's boring. It will get so boring. Right. So the hottest guy that's doing that, it's like, yeah, you're the bored one because you need all these weird dynamics going on around you, and you're not really experiencing the relationship. You're not experiencing the girl. You're not participating. You're not contributing. It's just always about, you're never able to really relax. So in this relationship, you wouldn't be able to relax because you would always be like, okay, how long am I going to be punished for rolling my eyes that one day? And it's just like weird games and stupid manipulation that finally at the end, you're like, I don't even know who I am anymore or what I was even talking about. You're explaining your fights to other people and they're like staring at you like, yeah, I don't know. You're like, oh, I feel so stupid.
My friends that like have listened to this for the past like 10 days that like it all went on before it like all finally ended, they were like, I'm exhausted listening to this. They're like, this is insane. And I was like, finally like, yeah. And the thing is like, I'm a very self-aware person. And yes, he did. Like he sold me the entire world. But when I can get like from the emotional point to very good perspective, all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, this person is just not who he said he was.
Yeah.
And that's the easiest person for me to walk away from. And it's the easy person for me to like, that's how I like stay positive. Cause I'm like, I'm just thankful I wasted 3 months instead of 3 years.
Yes.
And didn't marry the guy and didn't do this and didn't do that. Like, I like think of it like that instead of like wallow. Like, yes, I have moments, but like when you realize like you're grieving for a false person, it's much easier to heal.
You got to Instagram that. You're grieving for a false person. Alicia Smokler, you heard it here. You are grieving for a false person. Ooh, that's good. Yes. Yeah, it's like, yeah, he's like.
They didn't exist.
No. Or they
never did.
It's like a character, it's like it's a character that he followed a script for a while and then, yeah, it doesn't really exist. Oh, that's really good. I know some people are like going, yes, he doesn't really exist because we're trying to like, we're trying to build roads back to, it's like we're trying to build a yellow brick road. There is no land of Oz, really. It was all just a dream. At least we think it was a dream. No. But you know what I'm saying? Like but that is a hard thing to reconcile. And I think even when you're a smart girl, this stuff, you could tell your other friend, but when your heart gets in there and you really start to fall, it's hard. You can know it all in your head, but that, oh man, you don't want to let it go because, and this is when I never judge my girls too. And they're like, okay, so he came over again. I could have this whole conversation just like we're having, and then I'll get a call or we'll do a coaching session. And they're like, well, he came over and we had sex. And I'm like, I know, I'm not even ever surprised because sometimes it just takes a few more visuals or experiences with him to be like, wow, you really are not who, it's like you don't believe it at first. And then sometimes you see them again or you go on another date or even it's just another phone conversation or you start to see it in the text and you're like, sometimes you just have to like, the reality needs to hit you for a while. And then you're like, oh, okay, he's really not a good guy.
they become, I think we also, like, they're strangers to you. And I think that's the
yes.
thing, because it went from someone that you, like, thought was, like, this safe person that, like, told you all of these, like, fairy tales, like, they're never going to hurt you and they're going to keep you safe and they're going to do this, they're going to do that. And then they're becoming the person they said they weren't going to be. Mm-hmm. And that's a hard thing for our heart to, like come to terms with. And so, but I think this is, and it stems from everything you've said, the biggest thing. And I mean, trust me, I've had plenty of faults in my past, but my biggest thing is knowing not to feed into that and not to do that sex with them or this and that, because as you said, it gives them that high again. And they basically got you right where they wanted. And I know the biggest thing that made him so angry was once he started delivering me, like, messages that were hours apart, I just did the same thing back to him. And he never could, he would, like, send me a message like, I know I haven't been giving 100%, I'll start giving 110%. So I would sit back and wait for it. And then all of a sudden it's like he was finding things that I did wrong, and then once again waiting hours and hours and hours again. And I was just like, okay, yeah, you're trying to, like, play this, like, wild game with me, and, like, I'm not doing games today, you know, like, and so, you know, after it happens, you know, so it was 12 days of this going on. Like, we finally just ended it a few days ago, and I realized 3 months, 90 days. So 12 days is more than 10% of the relationship. No one should be, for more than 10% of your relationship, not capable of solving a problem. So once you're past, like, I could give 12 days to a 2-year relationship, not to a 90-day one.
I like
and
that.
So I think that's, like, something that people really need to put in perspective, because conflict resolution, we're all going to piss someone off. We're all, like, we're humans, you know? And there might be a day that we go to sleep and I'm like, I just don't want to talk to you tonight. That's normal. But what's not normal is 12 days after someone rolled their eyes at you, to still be throwing that in your face and saying that's the reason as to why we are where we are.
Yes.
So I think we just have to, like, have, like, no, that's not normal. That's their problem. It's not yours.
It is not normal. You know, I want so badly to interview Eric Bana, who played Dirty John. Did you ever see Dirty John?
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Okay. So I watched him interviewed, and he described what it was like for him to become the character of Dirty John. And what he said was, you know, he's like this married dad in Australia. And so it's so funny to listen to his Australian accent, and you're like, whoa, it's just amazing how you can't even hear any Australian accent when he's acting. And he said, I had to become really immature. He had to channel his, like, adolescence. And he said, I was just looking at this guy's messages and how he communicated, and it was just, he felt dirty and gross. But what I was really interested in is how immature he felt like he had to become, because he's a responsible, you know, very devoted husband, married to his wife, has children, and kind of lives a quiet life, I think, like, out in the country in Australia. So it was so interesting, though, when he had to become that character. And it really was a huge kind of light bulb that this maturity, it's such a lack of growth from childhood. Like, we're dating these guys that they are full grown men and they go and they do jobs, but emotionally, they're still back in high school. So they're still playing goofy games and they can't communicate as an adult. And so, but the Hollywood, this is also one of my big aha moments, is that Hollywood glamorizes this player, immature guy that's waiting for his Barbie to walk into his life and change everything. But he's going to be promiscuous and date a bunch of women and be this player until this amazing dream girl. So we've been kind of trained and programmed to accept this immaturity, when we should be like, ooh, this is somebody that's not ready for anything mature, because marriage is paying bills and taking care of kids and taxes. And, you know, I mean, just think of all the stuff we do, and we need that equal. So when we're getting these dynamics of 12 days and there's still talk about an eye roll, it's like, he's an adolescent. You know, you're not even dealing with a true adult emotionally. So
absolutely.
Yeah. sometimes they're high functioning adolescents. They can, they can really kill it in jobs. Like I know I have clients, one of them was a heart surgeon, and just one of the worst narcissistic gumball guys I have ever coached a girl through. I mean, he was pure evil, but was a heart surgeon by day. And
I almost think very successful men like are more towards this type, and I could be totally wrong, but he's very successful as well. And it's like, I almost am like, do they just feel like they can do whatever they want?
I think it's the opposite. I think that if they have a title or something, my personal belief is that there is no socioeconomic status. As I know, poor gumball guys, poor narcissists, and rich ones, it is all that. It's the addiction to seeking validation from others. So people are a source of make me feel good. Like my favorite line from my sister, tell me how great I am so I can love myself more. It's about them feeling good about themselves. So sometimes they achieve positions of power, and then they're able to use people to, like in Hollywood, if a producer, he can be a huge gumball guy, but people will suck up to him because they want to be in movies. And so that's where they're getting their high. But when they're not getting their high anymore, they start to feel bad about themselves. And it also encourages other addictions. So if you see a guy that's addicted to something else like drugs or alcohol or porn or, any gambling, those kinds of things usually have other addictions attached to them. So you have to watch for that inconsistency, that their behavior will fluctuate, where a healthy person is steady and calm, which I always teach my girls, that steady and calm looks boring when you're used to wanting the Hollywood high and the romance, and and then we have shows like The Bachelor that are always producing, I just want the fairy tale. I mean, I should count how many times in The Bachelor they say the word fairy tale. There is no fairy tale. I just want the fairy tale ending. It's like, no, every girl that met her guy on The Bachelor, you see them and they're having kids and they're just at their house. I mean, they're living a regular everyday life, but that is never, no one writes movies about everyday life. So it's always sensationalized, and then the whole message gets misconstrued, and then real love never really is. I mean, I felt so stupid, Alicia, when I had to study what love really was. I remember thinking, what does this actually look like? Right. And then I realized, oh, it's intimacy. Well, what's intimacy? I always thought when people said intimacy, it was sex. No, intimacy is where you feel close. Like you feel, oh, okay, you have intimacy with family and friends. I'm like, oh, so I'm supposed to have this feeling with guys that I'm dating. Then I started to develop that relationship with men in my life, friends' husbands, cousins' husbands. And then I started to understand, oh, this is what it's supposed to be. It's not about romance. And I'm like, oh, no wonder why dudes hate chick flicks, like good dudes, because they just know it's just so cheesy. To them, they're like, this is so stupid. They're rolling their eyes. They're like,
okay, I'll do one chick flick every 2 months.
Yeah, but they're like, I'm not going to be him. And, the guys that are really solid, they're like, yeah, I'm never going to be like that. So that's not happening for you. And then the wife laughs, and because they have a good marriage. But yeah, I would be watching that, thinking and waiting. And guess what? You'll get it if you can date a gumball. I think that's the one thing where we can attract these guys if we're sitting there waiting like puppy dogs for our magical moment for our eyes to catch across the crowded room and sparks to fly. I mean, that's kind of when we're a little doughy-eyed and we can be swept off our feet by guys that are also game for that experience, because they love that. Let's face it, it's a pretty good experience. I mean, it's a lot of fun.
The high is great.
It is. I mean, yeah, it's like I always say the schmoopy from Seinfeld 100 years ago, but it's like the lovey-dovey, and it's like, who doesn't want to hear I love you? I mean, it's like, of course you love me in 2 weeks. I'm fantastic. And it's like,
who wouldn't?
Yeah. So, and you know what though? I know couples that have been married a long time and they did fall in love in 2 weeks. So who's to say that can't happen for you? But the difference is, it will level out and it won't bottom out. You know what I mean? Like you'll have
100%.
Infatuation can turn into love. It doesn't always just plummet. and it's like a slow taper into a really happy medium. But it doesn't go like a zigzag. And that was a huge lesson that I had to learn myself and understanding. So yeah, I love your attitude, Alicia. This is awesome. So I'm dying to know, like, I know you're just writing a book, right? So you're right in the writing stage. So can you give us any preview of what your book's going to be about, or what you kind of want to cover in your book?
Right. Absolutely. So I'm probably about halfway through right now, and I'm really journaling it as basically kind of an outlook of how my love life has aspired, and a lot of my different like loves of my life that I've had, and how I met, and kind of our journey, and then transitioning into, dating online, and transitioning from breakup to another relationship, and transitioning in that dating period of time. And I'm throwing in a couple of fun stories from friends as well. It's not a very like mapped out, like very like strict chapter book. So I really hope that like people see it more as like a real life experience, and you're kind of going from one thing to the next, and you really can relate to it. So like my biggest thing is, I'm writing it because it's something I'm very passionate about, and I hope whoever wants to read it is passionate about, it really probably will be geared towards, I'm going to say women, but of course I don't want to like mix out men, but really probably women that are in their 30s and probably early 40s that have like still been dating, and like potentially even people that are married, but they can like laugh about like, oh, I remember when I was going through that. Oh my gosh, I can totally relate. Like I remember having that heartbreak, and then I had to get on Tinder, and like, what was Tinder? How did I know what to do with that? And so I've lived quite a few places, and I've had, some very serious relationships. I feel like I've gone through almost every experience people could go through. I've had the very serious relationship. I've had ones that have ended because of a spouse and kid that just, it wasn't going to work, and I was really young. And then I had one that ended because I picked him because he was really good on paper, but 2 years of incompatibility trying to make the right guy on paper. And then I went through like the 2 years of having like my crazy dating, I don't want anyone, blah, blah, blah. I've gone through I thought I met the man of my dreams, and then I flat out figured out he cheated, and a girl online reached out to me and told that. So, it's just like the combination of everything. And I want to tell this story to say like, look, you can have the worst thing happen to you, but you can still get back up, and you can say, thank you for saving me a 10-year marriage, or thank you for saving me from like having a child and a woman knocking on my door and saying, I've been with your husband for 2 years, And I also think the important thing is very clearly defining to your partner what a relationship is and what your boundaries are, because a lot of people fluctuate. And I think in 2019, a lot of different couples define relationships very differently. And I think it's fine as long as you're both defining it together, and you're both okay. And you truly both are okay with what you define it as, and being very clear on those expectations, on those boundaries, and on, just like those next steps. So, it's kind of a compilation of that.
Yeah, it sounds so good. I mean, I think everybody loves those kinds of books, because you can, it doesn't have to be preachy, or it doesn't have to be about a certain, certain types of content. It's just the stories, the real raw experiences, and everyone can relate to that. And it also just, again, makes people realize that this is happening everywhere. And they can look at you, this gorgeous girl, and they're like, okay, if she's going through it, it's okay. You know what I mean? Like it's so awesome. I wish so many more people would join this industry, because I feel like it needs more women like you telling stories, connecting with women, building communities, and just helping each other increase our self-worth, making us realize that it is a crazy world to navigate, even if you're not online dating, you're just out there. And it does feel like, I don't know, I'm sure we'll look back at this time and be like, remember the time when like smartphones were kind of new and people were dating on those apps. And like, maybe this will be just this weird time. We'll look back 20 years from now and be like, wow, we were pioneers through that because we were fumbling around. Maybe something will be, invented that will be different. But I do think it is difficult because we're kind of setting ourselves up on blind dates. We're basically full-time blind daters. I mean, we have a picture, but like, that's hard. It's very nerve-wracking. I don't care how many times you do it. It's like, okay.
Oh, yeah, you're still going in and meeting a stranger completely.
Yes.
And you don't know, like, you really, for the most part, probably most people haven't even talked on the phone once. I really, suggest people talking on the phone.
Yes.
I just think that can save you so many dates because you, go in and talk to someone and you're like, oh, my gosh, we do not vibe at all. Like, a lot of it's just about a connection, and you can tell on the phone. I think a lot of matchmakers deliver that advice. But what you said hits the nail on the head. It's really just about women supporting women and creating a community. And I think that's what we really need in this world. And just remembering that, we're in this together. We're not on opposing teams. Mm-hmm. And, just really embracing each other and embracing our differences and embracing our similarities and learning from each other. I think we really have a lot of powerful information, each of us. And that's really what I want to create is a community where people feel like they have someone to lean on and they're not alone.
Yes. And I love when my girls have somebody different. I don't, they get bored of what I'm saying. So it's always great to have other people. I listen to all kinds of podcasts. So you're on Instagram. So I want everyone to know where they can find you. You're on Instagram. What's the best place to find you and hear your content or read your blog?
Absolutely. So on Instagram, Alicia Smokler, and that's ALICIASMOKLER.
Okay.
And then my blog is www.aliciasmokler.com.
Okay. And I'll put this in the show notes too. And you're Alicia Smokler on Instagram. So your Instagram is beautiful. I love it. It's pink and red, right?
Yes, I'm very I'm so the girly girl.
I love it. God, what was I going to ask you? Oh, so tell everybody any other fun facts about you. I see that you're a dog person, which I love. What kind of dog do you have?
So I have a 6-month-old golden doodle, and he is the love of my life. His name's Griffin, and he is just so great. So I moved back to Texas in December. And my parents and I actually got brother, sisters. So they have Sophie, and they're complete opposites. Griffin is the most relaxed, chill dog, and Sophie's on speed 24/7. My dad,
so cute.
Thank goodness though, because I have to travel for work and I travel, so my dad does not mind watching my dog. And I think if it was reversed, it would be crazy. But yeah, I'm a native Houstonian, but I moved away when I was 18. I've lived all over. I've lived in Arizona. I've lived in Chicago. I've lived in LA. I've lived in Spain. And I was kind of ready to come back home. And it's really nice to be back by my family. And then I think dating and realizing what your long-term plans are, and mine is definitely at least finding a great companion. And if kids are in our future, that's great. But I've kind of lived the life I've wanted to live single, and I would love to settle down. And I think Texas, though you can find the good and the bad everywhere, I think it's a more realistic place to kind of find that. So that's been a big reason, as well as being back by my parents.
Mm-hmm. I love it. Alicia, this has been so great. I've loved having you on. I can't wait to watch your community grow, and you'll definitely have to let us know when your book comes out, and you're welcome to come back anytime to the podcast. If you have any crazy stories, I would love to bring you back on. So thank you again for taking the time and working with me on my crazy schedule that's happened in the past few weeks. So
absolutely, Melissa. It was my pleasure. And like I said, I think I needed it more. So
you're so sweet.
I had a little bit of a therapy session too.
That's okay. And I appreciate you doing that because, you never know where these conversations will go, but everyone loves the real conversations,
right.
You love the podcast and you're like, I feel like I'm just listening to someone's phone conversation. It's do they realize they posted this podcast?
Right. Do they, even in my mind, I'm half my friends don't even know this is going on. So I'm okay, well, But you know what? I think authenticity is the most important. And so I'm all about that. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to dive on in. So I appreciate it as well. And I definitely will keep you posted. I would love to be on again.
Awesome. All right. Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Sounds good. Thanks, Melissa. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. If you want more information or to schedule a private coaching session, or better yet, to join the next Back to You Academy, go to gumballlove.com. If you loved this podcast, I would love for you to share it with your friends. And if you really loved it, a 5-star review is the best compliment you can give. Remember, you are enough, you are right where you should be, and the only thing you have to do is keep going. I'll leave you with my favorite quote by Henry David Thoreau. Go confidently in the direction of your dreams and live the life you have imagined. Until next time, I'll see you soon.